One more thing I'd like to do with you, Zoe, for your makeup lesson is to go to your technique book, and I wanted to look at the first artistry piece that's in there. I think that it's one that you might enjoy playing. It has some similarities to some things that you've played recently. And I think that starting, what I'd like to do is play it for you so you can hear what it sounds like. It's one that has a left-hand melody, which it was kind of like that cello piece that you played for Guild that you did really nicely on. And this is just really pretty, but I'd like to cut out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the measures in the middle. The B section, I just think that there's enough going on in there that I'm not sure if we need to do that. If after you work on it you decide you want to add that, that's fine. But I think you're going to find some similarities to that cello piece. And so let me play for you. So watch the music as I play. It's on page 8. And what I'd like you to do is when I get to measure 10, I'm going to jump over to measure 16. So you might get a little lost if you're following along. If your eyes are like, oh wait, that's not matching, that must mean that you need to move over to 16. And fortunately, it's a video, so you can just rewind it and go back and figure out, as you're watching and listening, watching the music as you listen. So let me start at the beginning, and remember, I'm going to make that little jump at measure 10, okay? It's really pretty, isn't it? I think you're going to enjoy working on it. Remember how we learned the cello piece? We started with the left-hand melody so that you're very familiar with it. Make sure you count to 3 on that dotted and count to 4 on your whole notes. Notice the tempo marking at the beginning rather slowly with expression. So if you go about as slowly as I did, I felt like it was kind of an andante feeling, which is a word that we talked about in your last lesson, walking speed, but not this kind of walking speed, but just a regular, I'm out for a walk and it's a pretty day and I'm going to enjoy what I'm looking at, that kind of walking speed. And then I would break this up into sections. I would go to measure 9 and put a little squiggly like I do oftentimes, and just see if you can figure out what the chords are. Now, if I were you, and you may need a little help with the chords when you come to your next lesson, but what I would suggest is to try to put like a box around where you don't have a chord that's in a root position. So you remember the root position is where they're stacked like a snowman. So you can see in the beginning of measure 3 that you have you've moved from C and E to B and D, but you keep the A at the bottom. So they do that. Chopin did that in some of the things he wrote, and I think it's just sort of a little bit of a takeoff on what he did. So watch where the chords are with the second. What's happening is Mrs. Faber is moving to the next chord, and she does it by adding that tension of a second. You'll want to notice that when you get to measures 8 and 9, that you're going to just keep your hand, the D and the A, you're going to keep the same, And what changes is the inside finger. So you're going to go from an F to an E to a G to an F. And you might want to just practice the F. Let's see, be F, E, G, F. The inside notes first, because your outside notes are just going to stay the same. But that might be a little troublesome for your eyes, so take some time to figure out where the moving notes are in the chord, like we did when we did that cello song. If you have questions about it, then go ahead and text me so that you don't end up working on it wrong. And if it's too much, then work on the melody. Make sure you know how to do the melody. And if you wanted to, if the chords were just too confusing, then I'd also go over and just, if you're doing just the melody, go to 16 and see if you can figure out the melody to the end. So there you have it. It's called Nightfall. It's in your artistry book, Technique and Artistry, and it's on page 8.